think is the end game motive for doing away with 25,000 dams?
Grabbing resources. I believe that's what it is. Honestly, this is the resource grab of the highest order of magnitude that you could imagine.
The resource meaning that if you force people off their land, like ranchers and farmers, because they can't get access to water, you get to acquire their land, their structures.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And they could just as easily go and build another dam anytime they want. But I think this is it. And I don't say that just because of the Klamath River Dam and that area in particular, but we see this land grab and this resource grab going on all over the world. And I believe this is what sustainable development is all about. Agenda 21 has already told us that private property is going to be out. You won't own land. You won't own things, basically they're just going to take your right to own anything away. And that was a policy originally that came from technocracy too, by the way, from the 1930s. They were going to completely do away with all property and basically pay people a monthly stipend so that they could buy the goods and services that they told them they could buy. It was basically total societal management. But the thing is, what they're doing around the world right now is they're grabbing up these resources that they say nobody else can have, and they're kind of putting them in a kind of a loose, I use this term loosely, a global common trust that you and I will never get close to, but their cronies will. They will have their way with the land, and you and I basically will be arrested if we trespass. And we actually see that in some areas of our country already where they've locked off the roads and stuff. But here's one reason I'd say about this resource grab. All around the world today, nations that have been put under a heavy debt load, that's basically all of Africa and all of South America, by the way, that can't possibly ever pay back their debt. These are very rich nations, you understand, but they're so far in debt, they can't even pay the interest on the debt right now. So they're in dire straits. So what does the IMF and the World Bank do? They create a new program called Debt for Nature Swaps. This is scary. Debt for Nature Swaps says, we'll go out, they go out to a nation that's fully in debt, and they say, look, here's what we'll do. We will forgive your debt. But the money that the interest that you're putting towards the debt right now, we want you to spend that money on conservation. So what do you need to do, Mr. Nation, is go out and lock up vast swaths of property and dedicate it to conservation. And oh, by the way, if you don't know how to do that, there's some good people at Nature Conservancy and at the United Nations that can help you out with your conservation stuff, right? So they talk them into taking the land away from the citizens of the country, locking it up under trust, if you will, and denying that country the use of that land for productive purposes. Now you can see where this is going. This is a resource grab on a planetary scale, not just here.
So this is going on all over the country? I mean, the world, I should say.
All over the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. And, if you look back historically, like 2,000 years, money has never been a measure of wealth. This is new. This is something that really only happened in the last maybe 100 years or so. But money traditionally has never been a measure of a person's wealth. However, the resources that a person owns has always been the measure of wealth. How much land do you own? Do you have cattle on it? Do you have a gold mine? Do you have timber? Do you have a farm? See, it's the land that produces wealth. And if you own a piece of that resource, that land, whatever, then that's a measure of your wealth. And historically, there have been some very wealthy people on that basis. And there's been a lot of other people that didn't have any at all. But this is the measure of wealth. Now, as our monetary system crumbles today, and it is crumbling globally right now, these people, I'm sure, I've studied the Trilateral Commission, for a long time, Dave,
sure.
40 years now. These people know that the central banking system and the current fractional reserve banking system in the planet is crumbling. It's outlived its usefulness. They've sucked everything out of the currency that they can, short of just, torching the whole thing. So as the financial system unwinds, these people have figured out a way on how to grab all the resources of the planet. They're not happy like Ted Turner was with just a couple 100,000 acres in Montana or wherever he's buying ranches in Texas and Montana. They're not satisfied just to have some big mansion out in the middle of a 5,000 acre ranch in Texas or something. They are going for the whole enchilada globally. That's why this thing is so big, Dave. I mean, I've been hopping up and down for this for a long time, and the longer I go, the higher I can hop. I guess I'm too old, I guess, in one way to hop, but I am hopping on the inside. This is such a big program that they're pulling on us that people just cannot conceive how big it is.
Pat, let me read something to you. I mean, this is an amazing synchronicity. I have written this in a rough draft form, and a lot of times I'll work on 3 or 4 articles at a time, and then I'll focus on the current one and then develop the other ones as we go. And this fits into that category, and I've been working on this article now, and it's a follow-up to something I wrote 3 years ago. I want you to just hear these lines here. Americans are lamenting that our budget deficit's approaching $21 trillion. Our national debt and deficit is a drop in the bucket compared to the assets that our government controls. Far beneath the ground, the federal government owns the rights to mineral and energy leases from which they receive royalties, rents, and bonus payments, states the Institute for Energy Research and Industry Group. According to their estimates, this is the mind-blowing number here, my friend. According to their estimates, the government states that these assets are worth $128 trillion. That's almost 8 times the national debt.
And there you go. There you go. So if the question,
are you aware of those figures, Pat?
Oh yeah, it's just amazing that if it ever comes off to paying the national debt off, all they have to do is just sell off a little portion of the land. Give it to the debt holders and say, here's your payment.
Well, I was reading an estimate that this Energy Institute followed up with, and it said these resources could be leased to third parties and earn the state and national government huge royalties, an estimated $150 billion over 10 years just for the oil and gas leases alone.
Wow, yeah. It's incredible. Yeah, nothing else adds up. There's no other explanation that adds up other than somebody's trying to steal our wealth away from us. And that's what they've done. They've stolen it away from us.
So they're going to drive us. It's almost like we have a dual economy. They're going to drive the surface economy into the ground, bankrupt us, subjugate us because of our destitute need for water and food they'll provide. And on the other hand, they're storing resources like squirrels store nuts for the winter. And then when we're taken care of, then they'll go ahead and roll these out and live the life of luxury in this massive 2-tiered feudal system. Is that where this is headed?
That's exactly right. That's my opinion, my strong opinion. That's exactly where this is headed, and I think that's what they have in mind. That is what technocracy had in mind from the 1930s. This is not new thinking of any sort. But I will also say, again, it is not communism, socialism, or fascism.
Sure.
This is a brand new concept that people just have a hard time getting their head around, but it's an energy-based economic system. Energy-based economic system. And we see, of course, all the focus on energy, not just oil, coal, natural gas, but on smart meters. We see, cap and trade focuses on energy. We see all the alternative energy stuff that's going on with windmills and solar panels, stuff like that. This is all about energy. And what technocracy wants to do is create an energy-based economic system. And it's draconian, it's feudalistic, and it will result in a scientific dictatorship, the likes of which the world has never seen, and the likes of which that people may never be able to escape from once it's imposed.
Amazing.
which is not a good thing, because we've been able to rebel in the past against different things and get out. But scientific dictatorship is another story. Listen, there's a story I just posted today, Dave. It's worth mentioning right here from China.